9192, okay? And today what's going to happen is they're now going to give you this an equation, and we're going to come up with all the parts, and we're going to come up with the picture, okay? So that's what we're going to be working on today. Okay, so now I need you guys to hang in there a little bit on number one, because on number one, it takes us a little bit of time to get through, because I have to talk to you about what everything means, and then we're going to go down and do it. So number one's going to take us a little time to get through. Once we get through number one, you're going to see our pace will pick up a little bit, all right? And it won't take us as long to do the problems. But the first problem is going to just take us a little bit to get through, just because there's a lot of steps and there's a lot of information. Not hard, just information. Okay, so now one of the questions that's always asked every year is, when we're graphing a problem, do we have to have this memorized? No. I will give you this, here's like a test question. I would give you, here's the steps I want, here's blank, write it in, give me a picture. So it'll look just like this on your test on Thursday, okay? So please don't think you have to memorize it, but I'm not going to give you any extra information. You need to know when I say vertex what we expect out of you. When I say axis symmetry or AOS, what do we expect, okay? So that's your job, is to know what to do, when to do it, but I will give you this information, okay? All right, so step A, it says write the equation in standard form. Okay, what am I talking about when I say standard form? Well, that would be good if we're talking about lines. So, what else we got?
Like x squared, x, no x.
Right, okay, x squared, x, and no x, right? Put it in order. So remember, guys, remember how we talked on Friday? Ax squared plus bx plus c, the quadratic function. Talked about that now a few times, okay? So in this case, is this already in order?
Yes.
Yeah, so we just get to copy it down. Yay! Okay, so the first step a lot of times is not going to be hard, okay? Now, please understand, I don't care if there's a 0 equals or an f of x equals. It's all saying the same thing, what we're going to be doing, okay? So we've got y equals 3x squared plus 6x minus 4. So in this case, it's already in order, ready to go. If you kind of look down there, you'll see number 2 is not, okay? All right, step B. Step B says, direction of opening, is it going up or down? Okay? So when we're trying to figure out if the picture is going to shoot up like this or shoot down like this, we need to look at the A value. Okay? We're going to look at the A value. So let's put in a note up here next to B. Okay? So look at the A value. Okay? So now, what do you think, if I say the number is positive, what do you think is probably going to happen?
It's
Going to go up. If the number is negative,
gonna go down.
it's going to go down. Okay? So we're going to look at the A value for step B. All right? Okay, so if I look down here on this one, what's your A value here? 3. So is it going up or down? Good. It's going to go up because it's a positive 3. Okay? So now, if my graph, look here, if my graph is opening up, are you going to have a maximum or a minimum point? If your graph is opening up, what do we have? Minimum, right? Okay, so if it's shooting up, that means we have a low point. It's going to shoot up from there. Okay? So up will always be minimum. If all else fails, sketch it out real quick. Okay? All right, step D, axis of symmetry. All right, there is a formula for axis symmetry. So back up here on step D, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to put in a note here. Okay, so for axis symmetry, x equals negative b over 2a. X equals negative b over 2a. You need to know this. I'm not going to give this to you. Okay, now, if you are looking though, see here? Quadratic formula, right? This whole thing is the quadratic formula. What do you notice out here up front? Negative b over 2a is the axis symmetry, okay? So your front part of the quadratic formula is axis symmetry, okay? It's all related, okay? So now we're going to go down here. Let's do negative b over 2a, or opposite of b, right? We've been saying opposite of b. So x equals, all right, what's the opposite of b?
Negative 6.
Negative 6 over 2 times, what's my a value? 3. All right, so what is negative 6 divided by 6? Negative 1. So my axis symmetry, x equals negative 1. We need that x equals. It's going to be an equation of a line. Okay, so x equals negative 1. Okay? All right, so we're going to go over to our graph now. My graph's been struggling a little today. Let's see how it goes. Okay, it keeps wanting to send me to Safari for some reason when I write on it, I don't know why. So at -1, we're gonna put a dotted line, okay? This is our dotted line. Go ahead and take a second and go ahead and put your dotted line there. Down -1. Okay, so this is gonna be the middle of my graph. Okay, it's gonna be equal on both sides. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's go to step E. Step E says vertex. Now, your vertex will always be on this dotted line somewhere. Somewhere on this dotted line. If it's not on the dotted line, you are wrong. Okay, it has to be on that dotted line. Okay, so now the vertex. Okay, let's put a note up top here. We're going to plug in AOS, so axis symmetry. We're going to plug in what you just found into your equation. So plug in AOS into the equation. All right, so we're going to go ahead and plug in our AOS. And what was our AOS again? -1. So we're going to take -1, and we're just going to plug it into the original equation. Okay, so it's going to be y equals 3 times -1 squared plus 6 times -1 minus 4. Okay, so I just put that in my original equation. Now, here's what I want you to do. Take your handy little calculator, and I want you to type this straight in. You don't even have to sit and work it out. 3 times -1 squared, make sure you put parentheses around it, plus 6 times -1 minus 4. Start typing. Quick, come on. Should we put this in?
I'm sorry, this is squared.
Square right there. Okay, if you did it right, you're gonna get a -7. Okay, you should get -7 if you do it right. If you're not getting it, let me know. Come on, you practice it. You got it? Kevin, did you not get it? Okay. If you're not getting it, raise your hand and someone will come over to you. Alright, now go from there. There we go. Okay. Alright, anybody else need help? Alright, so now this is a coordinate point. It's going to be a point on our grid, okay? So what number did we plug in? -1, and what number did we get out? So your coordinate point is -1, -7. I plugged in -1, I got out a -7. Okay, so now let's go over our grid, and on our dotted line, we're going to find a -7. Okay, so count down there. I'm going to put an X. You put a dot on yours, okay? I'm putting an X because it won't let me do dots for some reason. All right, but if I do an X, it holds it up. Holds it there. Go down. Okay, so you just put a dot. Count down 7, put a dot. Okay, so this is going to be our minimum point. This is our lowest point, and it's going to shoot up from there. Okay? All right, so next step, it says y-intercept. What do you guys know true is about a y-intercept?
It's on the y-axis.
It's going to be on the y-axis. What's always going to equal 0? X is always going to be 0. Very good. So on my y-intercept, you're going to have 0, and then it's going to be whatever your c value is. Okay, so if you think about that for a second, if I plug in 0 here and 0 here, isn't that always going to go to zeros? 6 times 0, 3 times 0, I mean, it's all zeros. So it's 0, 0, and then whatever your c value is. Okay, so you don't even have to show work here. All you got to be able to do is locate c. All right, so your coordinate point will be 0, -4 on this problem. So 0, -4. Again, it's just your c value. Okay, so 0c. Okay? Yes, sir.
So could you still write out the variables like on the quadratic form, like how we would put A equals
A, B, C, yeah. You can do that if you want. You do not have to. It's up to you.
Okay.
If that helps you to do that, then do it.
All right.
Okay?
Mhm.
All right. So we're going over our grid now. So y-intercept's at -4. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. You put your little dot there, I'll put my little X here. Okay, so everybody go ahead and graph your y-intercept. Okay, so you guys remember we've talked a lot about here in the last few days, that the axis of symmetry would be the middle, right? And whatever I have on this side, I also have on this side. It's reflected over. It's also over here. So if I put a dot 1 unit out from that dotted line on this side, what do you think we're probably going to be doing on the other side? Same thing. Put the dot right across there. So if it's one out this way, distance of 1 this way, go a distance of 1 this way, and put your dot there. Okay? So again, like I said, I'm going to put an X. Hopefully it'll let me. There. There you go. All right. So equal distance from the dotted line. Okay, dotted line. Okay? So this is what it's starting to come up, which is good because we said earlier it should open up. Right? If we look at our first couple of steps, it says open up. Okay? All right, so now, step G. Step G is tough because there's a couple of ways you can do it. The first way you want to do it, when possible, is just look at the picture. Okay? So on step G, it's asking us to find those roots, those zeros, x-intercept, the solutions. Okay? So when I look over here, can I tell exactly where this is crossing yet?
No.
No, so that's a bummer, all right? Because there's going to be times when we can tell right away. In this case, we cannot tell right away, so that means we're going to have to do a little extra work, okay? So on G, the first thing I'm going to always check for is I'm going to look at the graph. If I can tell from the graph, then I'm writing down my information and I'm moving on. I don't have to worry about it. If I cannot tell from the graph, you have two options. If it's factorable quickly, factor it. If it is not something that you're going to be able to factor, or it's something that's going to take you too long to factor, then use the quadratic formula. Okay. Okay, so if I'm looking at this problem right here, 3x squared plus 6 minus 4. You want to try to factor, or you want to use the quadratic?
Quadratic.
I'll give you a hint, it's not factorable. So we're going to use the quadratic. Okay? But if you tried to factor 1 and 3, right? 1 and 4, 2 and 2, and then you would be playing to see if you ever got a positive 6, which you would not get. Okay? So then you would have to go to the quadratic formula. Okay? All right. So step G, quadratic formula. Here we go. X equals opposite of B, so what would I put there? Negative 6 plus or minus B squared. So 6 squared minus 4. Quentin, be writing, please. Times A. What's your A value?
3.
What's your C value? Negative 4. Good. All over
2 times 3.
2 times. Good. Okay. All right. So just start doing your math. Most of you got really good at the quadratic. Okay. So 6 squared. What's 6 squared? 36. And then negative 4 times 3 times negative 4.
Positive 48.
Good. Very good, guys. Divide by 6. All right, what's 36 plus 48?
84.
84. Good. All right, so now let's take the square root of 84. So what do we get when we take the square root of 84?
9.2.
9.2. Is everybody going to back them up? Does that sound right? They rounded correctly and everything? Okay, just checking. All right, so now, right, we break it up into our two parts. So we've got negative 6 plus 9.2 divided by 6, and negative 6 minus 9.2 divided by 6. Okay? All right, so what is negative 6 plus 9.2? And then divide that by 6, and what do we get? Yeah, it should round off to 0.5, so x equals 0.5 if you did it right. Okay, so now do the next one. What is negative 6 minus 9.2? And then divide that by 6.
Negative 2.5.
Good, negative 2.5. Okay, so those are my intercepts for the x.